So I would like to welcome everybody to our info session regarding the COVID-19 call. I hope that you can hear me, that you can see me. So we have prepared the session today in order to give you information about the call, but also to answer your questions. And you can see on the right side that you can type in messages to ask questions. And I would like to first start with next slide, please, with the plan that we have today, the agenda. And after the welcome, I will hand over to Refia again, also to give you, to say hello from the COVID coordination team. I will explain you the scope of the call, why did we do it. Then we have planned that Jan Bialy is here, but we are not yet sure that he's gonna make it because he has another meeting in parallel. But we will cover this topic, of course, and then Refia will explain in detail the application procedure, and then we will have, of course, enough time for answering your questions. So, Refia, I would like to hand over to you also to say hello on behalf of your team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine. I would like to welcome everyone to our COVID call info session. So as Professor Catherine Amunds presented, we will be covering the scope of the call and as well as the application procedure and the services for HPP and EBRAINS. Thank you very much. Now we can, I think, give the word to Catherine again to explain the scope of the call for us.
Good. Then what is, so to say, the aim of the open call? So we are all aware that we are living in very special times, and COVID is, of course, going into every corner, I would say, of everybody's life. And we thought, or we discussed in the HBP, how we can contribute to solve this indeed huge challenge that we are facing in the society in Europe, but anywhere else in the world as well. And so that's the political motivation, but there is, of course, also, let's say, a scientific motivation, and that is, we see that that the Corona situation is related to problems of mental health, of neurological problems, and that it poses also quite some scientific challenges and scientific questions. And we wanted to support and enable COVID research in the HBP based on our infrastructure and based on our knowledge about the brain, and to create here from synergies between the planned activities that we have in the HBP and, of course, activities that are also planned in the field of COVID. And it was very important for us to make the services of EBRAINS available to you, because many of these services are very general and they are not limited to human brain research, but they could be also used in a broader way. So we wanted really here to make a specific contribution to COVID research in this field. And of course, for us as a European research project, it is of highest importance that the results that are being produced in such type of research, for example, tools or models or data, that they are being made available to the public so that also others can benefit. So we are addressing this call to academic and medical researchers, to physicians, postdocs, researchers in the field, researchers that are directly involved in hospital work, but also researchers from industry and pharma, including small and medium sized enterprises, but also larger companies. So it's really a broad call going to everybody that can apply. Next, please. Details come, of course, a bit later, what precisely it means, be applicable. So the scope of the call, that's COVID-19 and its impact on the brain and mental health. And we here have provided certain research topics which serve as an example so that you can better understand and have a better idea of what we have in mind. So for example, you may feel to apply for research that is linking or supplementing already activities at HBP level or at your level. In the research project, there are, as you have probably seen, already calls published by the European Commission. And if you are already a partner in such a call, you may wish to make this link to the EBRAINS infrastructure and add specific elements, how to use it, the EBRAINS infrastructure or how contribute to it. So it's specifically aimed to link other research from other projects that maybe are already ongoing on the national or European level to EBRAINS. Then a second part is, or a second example are longitudinal and cross-sectional analysis of patients suffering from neurological and or psychiatric symptoms after infection, for example, based on large cohorts. And it is clear that, of course, for such a short time slot as we have to for this call, it's not possible to have a long-term research, but there are already existing cohorts in hospital, at national level, in funding institution that have already collected research data on COVID. And you may wish to use this opportunity to analyze the data, for example, or to add certain elements of analysis or publication to this data. Could be also that you want to explore changes in brain structure and function in patients, targeting the brain mechanisms underlying disturbances in olfaction, memory, fatigue, depression. So these are all points that have been reported by doctors after, and we could provide here with EBRAINS a platform that helps you to analyze such changes in more detail. For example, by localizing certain changes in an atlas or by using the data and the data publication options and the knowledge graph to make your data available and document what you have found. So the next slide provides a couple of more examples. Could be also disease mechanisms and genotype-phenotype relationships as far as they concern the brain. So again, if you have already an experiment running that is analyzing cardiovascular system or is looking to the lungs, then you can wish to add also brain-related findings here. Short and middle term effects of COVID and related changes on mental health and brain health, for example, related to age and demographic factors. So again, there might be existing cohort where you have already collected lots of data and you may wish to specifically study them. Development of mathematical brain models of patients and subjects affected by COVID-19. You know that in the Human Brain Project, we are developing models at quite different spatial scales and levels. For example, using the virtual brain, and we have an epileptic virtual brain. So you may wish to contribute, for example, to a COVID virtual brain. Then in more general modeling and simulation of disease scenarios using EBRAINS. So the way how the disease is spreading, how much does it depend on political measures, for example, quarantine, or whether it depends on whether the schools are open or not. So these epidemiological scenarios can be also simulated, and you can use the EBRAINS platform and Phoenix in particular, therefore. Then research on effects of vaccines on the brain and mental health, or developing and testing strategies for prophylaxis, which is a field which is a little bit underexplored, I would say. So what can we do? Are there any unspecific options to increase the level of immunization, for example? So that's these were examples to give you an idea, but it is not the full and complete list. And as long as this research that you are planning contributes to the HBP aims that has to do something with understanding what happens in the brain or with respect to mental health, and is using EBRAINS is of course welcome. So the next, please. How do we want to do it? Well, we have over the last years developed a large scope of services and tools that we are more and more making available to the scientific community. And when Jan Bjarli is able to join later, I'm sure he can also answer you a lot of questions regarding these services. But in a nutshell, we have, for example, data and knowledge services. That means there are online or web-based solutions to facilitate the sharing of data, the uploading, also the downloading of areas. So there are data sets where about 1,000 researchers have contributed at this moment. And these data sets have a very high quality. They have a rich annotation so that other researchers can use these data and are fully aware of how the data have been generated, which kind of experiment was it, and what the data are good for. And of course, all these data are also complemented by additional information, for example, a publication where you can find it, and so on and so forth. So there are these two sides. You can upload your own data and wish to share it with the community. This provides to you an option that your data or research results get a higher visibility, but also that others can use it. And then your work is also cited, of course, which is a nice effect as well. And you can vice versa use these data that are there in order to make it comparable with your own data. The atlases. So here I would like to focus on two atlases in particular, the mouse brain or the rodent brain atlas and the human brain atlas. So the mouse brain or rat brain atlases might be interesting for you if you are looking to transgenic mice and want to know where is what in the brain. There are also links to the mouse brain atlas of the Allen Brain Institute with all the richness of genetic data. The Human Brain Atlas allows you to localize any brain activation or any findings coming from PET studies, for example, or findings coming from diffusion studies with which you might analyze patients within the scope. So here we would like to help you to better localize the findings, to identify the networks that are responsible for a certain result. And again, you can upload your data, but also can download the data. And what I find is cool, you can use Python clients in order to automatically read out this data into your own software so that you can, in a very fluent way, go to very deep analysis. Then the simulation. This is a very large part of the project. We have simulation engines on different levels. And for you, molecular simulation might be an option, molecular dynamics, molecular quantum molecular approaches. There are simulations on the cellular basis using neuron, for example. On the level of networks using NEST, here neurons are interpreted as point neurons. And we have also simulations at the whole brain level using, for example, the virtual brain, which allows to provide and to test models developed for a certain aspect. Then there are brain-inspired technologies. We have made available and accessible different types of neuromorphic computing. There is a neurobotics platform which provides interesting options to do virtual experiments, and that can be also reached here. And we have the medical data analytics. This is an interesting platform which consists of two parts. So the first is the so-called medical informatics platform, the MIP. The MIP is a software that is installed in a couple of hospitals in Europe, about 30. I would say, and it allows to extract data from patients in this hospital without moving the data by themselves. This is of course key because GDPR has to be followed, and the MIP provides an opportunity to bring together data from other hospitals and keeping data privacy. So that's in the nutshell what we can offer. All these different services can be connected to each other. That is, it is possible to develop workflows. That means you can, for example, use certain data from the atlas and have this data as an input information for simulation and use then the supercomputing infrastructure to run this simulation. Or you can, for example, develop a certain model, implement it, and run a simulation to identify new drugs, for example. So this is, of course, a very quick overview of the services. There's much more, but I would say that I do not want to use too much time in this overview so that you have enough time then also for questions. So the next slide, please. Good. And this hands over to Refia. So Refia, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Catherine, for this presentation. So I think we still have, yeah, Jan is still not with us. So I would like to cover first the application timeline and the application procedure. And then if Jan will be joining us, I would also like to give him a word. And then also he will be here hopefully for your questions about the EBRAINS. In the meantime, I see some questions in the Q&A box, and we'll cover those questions also during the Q&A session. And I would like to also remind that this meeting this session is being recorded, and during the presentation you can ask questions. Also during the Q&A session you can ask questions, and you will have opportunity, if the time allows, to ask your questions verbally as well. But I would like to remind, please be mindful while sharing the details of your proposal or your idea, as this session is open for all potential applicants. So the application timeline, we opened this call on 19th of March, and our first deadline for proposal submission is 27th of April. So please submit a pre-final version of your proposal on COL's platform before 27th of April. This will avoid you being unable to submit your application due to any technical unexpected problems. And so after this deadline, we have our final proposal submission deadline, which is 30th of April. By 5 p.m. Brussels time, you need to submit your proposal as well as online budget table via COL's platform. And when you are submitting your final proposal, you do not need to replace a pre-final version. You can submit, upload as many proposals as you wish until the deadline, and only your last submission will be considered for evaluation. And failure of any submission of the proposal for any reason, including communication delays, will automatically lead to the rejection of your proposal. Therefore, it's really important to submit a pre-final version so that you don't face these problems within the last minutes of the deadline. And regarding the application procedure, we had the first step, which was HBP Contact Phase. And in this step, the potential applicants sent their proposal ideas to discuss the relevance of their ideas and the feasibility of their proposals with the HBP scientists. So if you haven't done so, please send your questions or proposal ideas or the summary of your proposal to info@opencalls.humanbrainproject.eu, and our HBP experts will give feedback to you as soon as possible. And the proposals have to strictly adhere to the template provided in HBP Open Call platform. On the right side of the page, you will see all the call documents as well as the proposal template, and each section has own instructions for proposal submission and also overall length. So if your proposal do not does not respect the page limit, the excess pages will be removed from your proposals, and the evaluators will not have access to excess pages in case you do not respect the page limits provided in the HPP proposal template. And while submitting your application via the platform, please remember to fill out every required blank that was requested on the submission page in order to be able to submit your application. And you will see also the budget table on your application page, which is rather long, a longer section to fill out. And if you do not want to insert the final data, you can insert 0 into every blank. Also, the subsections of your budget table in your draft submission, so that you have a draft submitted, and then you can edit your budget table or any details about your application anytime you want until the deadline via cost platform. So when you submit your application, you will receive a confirmation email. If you do not receive this email, it means we have not received your submission or application. So please make sure you submit your draft submission by 27th of April. And if you don't receive a confirmation email, you can contact us for receiving support about your application. And yeah, after you received a confirmation to your application, it doesn't mean that your application is admissible or eligible. So the admissibility and eligibility check will be done after the deadline. However, you will have guides during the submission about to make sure that your application is eligible and admissible. So regarding the eligibility criteria, this call is eligible for non-HPP partners as well as HPP partners. However, non-HPP partners should request minimum 80% of the budget, and HPP partners, if there are any, should not request more than 20% of the total call budget. So what do we mean by non-HPP partners and HPP partners? So HPP partners are part of the HPP consortium and receiving funding from SGA3, and non-HPP partners are not yet the part of the HPP consortium, so they are not receiving any HPP partners, HPP funding. However, your institution might be an HPP partner, and your unit is not receiving any funding from HPP. In this case, your unit, your lab, department can be also considered as non-HPP partner and can request 80% or more of the total call budget. And I would like to also state that the organizations that are currently under contract with HBP partners for the supply of products or services are not eligible for funding under this call. And the European Commission's eligibility and financial rules apply. So please make sure that your country is within EU member states or Horizon 2020 associated countries. Please go to Guide for Applicants to check these details and to see if your country is eligible for funding under this call. So regarding the proposal budget, we have 450K proposal budget for this call. So 2 proposals will be selected, which means one proposal can request maximum 225K. So your proposal budget must not exceed this amount. And as I've mentioned before, minimum 80% of the budget, proposal budget, must be assigned to non-HPP partners, while if you have any HPP partners, HPP partners should not account for more than 20% of this budget allocation. Also, I would like to mention that the total call budget includes a voucher 10%, which is 22.5K to fund technical support for integration of project results in EBRAINS. Therefore, please remember to include this 22.5K in your online budget under the section of voucher budget. So I would like to also share here the table, a sample budget table. This is only sample for the budget distribution, so your online budget table will not look like this. So maximum HPP minimum HBP external partner budget should be 80%, which is minimum 180K, and maximum internal budget is 20%, which is the remaining budget here you see, and half of it will go to Watcher team, which is 22.5K, and then this is the maximum budget that you can request for your internal partner, which is 22.5K again. And then here you see the sum of your total call budget, which is 225K maximum. And then in your application submission page, you will also see that after you insert those numbers, which can change depending on your proposal and budget requests, the platform will automatically add 25% indirect costs, and your total sum will be 281.250 euros. So this is the maximum sum that you should see on your application page. And then these details that I've covered will be checked via a self-evaluation checklist, so that you will make sure that your proposal, your submission will be eligible or admissible for funding after checking these details. And these are only the basic information that I can provide now, but please make sure to go through the guide for applicants and make sure that your submission is eligible and admissible for receiving funding under this call. So I think in the meantime, yeah, thank you very much for your attention. I hope it wasn't so much confusing. And in the meantime, Catherine answered some questions, and I don't see open questions now in the Q&A box, but I would like to ask, if you have any questions, please ask your questions, write down, or you can click on the hand gesture under your screen and you can ask your question verbally as well. And I will direct your questions to panelists after reading or receiving them. So in the meantime, yeah, if Catherine has anything to add, or any other panelists would like to get a word to share some information about the call, I'm happy to give you the word.
So perhaps, thank you very much, Refia, for explaining it in so much detail. And indeed, it's not so easy to fill in the budget sheets, but with the information that you have now in your hands, it should be okay. From a more contents point of view, I would suggest that you really try to contact those people in the HBP with whom you will collaborate and identify very precisely the work that should be done in the context of this proposal. So that would be very important for you to be successful. So here is one question, Refia, I think this is for you. Is a co-founding intended to be in money of resources facilities?
So not only money, it can be faculty, staff positions, major equipment that the applicant would bring into the project, the grants that have already been awarded in the relevant research area, or also access to research infrastructures, experimental facilities, and use of technical equipment can contribute to the project. So it's not only money, and I can also copy paste this answer so that you have also in written form.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? So here's a question. I have a question regarding the online budget table in the core log. For submitting my application, the online table does not appear be active to insert my budget. Refia, can you answer this? Do you understand this? Yeah.
Sure. So in the meantime, I was copy pasting the other question. I'm sorry, could you please read again the question, because I cannot see the question in the box in question.
It's in the chat box. Thank you for the webinar. I have a question regarding the online budget table. In the core login for submitting, I would say, my application, the online table does not appear be active to insert my budget.
Yes. So first of all, please type your questions in the Q&A section so that we can see all of them. Second, your online budget table will only appear after you insert your institutions, your partner institutions. And then, for example, if you have one partner institution, you will have one section in the budget table. But in order to see your budget table, please go to the budget table section and click HBP SGA3 cost model, and then you will see the budget appearing, the table appearing on your application page. If you cannot see it, please send us an email and then we can support you.
So for example, there was from Denis, in which department can we participate in project when we graduate? Can you specify this question a bit more? Because I'm not sure that I understand. Do you mean your home department? That was the first. Then, so is it correct that the maximal duration of the project is 14 months? Yes. Unfortunately, this is true because the funding period of the HBP will end in March 23, and this was a maximal time that we were able to allocate for this specific call. So then, regarding the task in the call template, it is reported that only one task has to be described. Is this correct? Yes, this is correct because we will bring in the task into the whole construction of the HBP, and it will be an independent task. That means you will have to do reporting to this specific task. And this is, so to say, your task with which you will be also visible in the HBP. So yes, it's one. So this was now the question dedicated COVID activities. Julia, can you please help to find it out, because we have collected all the info at a certain point.
Of course, Katrin, I already posted a link in the chat box, so you should be able to find it very easily following the link.
Okay, thank you.
And Andrea, would you like to also add something about this question, or?
No, it was already listed, the link on the Spotlight series of how HBP scientists is collaborating with COVID. So I think that it is covered.
So then there was another question back, why is the maximum length 14, not 16? Well, this has to do something with all the formal steps that we have to go through when new partners are coming on board. And that's a lengthy process, which includes CEC as well, where also formal contracts are being made with your institution so that you can deliver the country. And we calculated, and unfortunately, there is no more time than these 14 months. So we think that that's, so to say, the maximal length that we can do, and we have also not the possibility for prolongation. That's not foreseen at this point. Here's a question. I'm a PhD student of anatomy department. Can I apply? So in principle, you can apply, but your department will be the negotiating partner. Refia, perhaps you can explain it a little bit more, yeah? Because we do not, with you personally, establish a contact, but with your institution, for example, university.
Yes, exactly. We have the partner, the institution, as a coordinator, which is represented by one PI or more PIs as project coordinator. But in the end, your department is representing your application.
Okay, then there was a question about the annex. Do we have to connect the project to one of the different work packages? Yes, I think so, yeah. Refia, that's necessary, and it's also useful because it shows where your focus is of activity, and where you have, so to say, where you have the links. we will not create an extra work package for this call.
Yes, exactly. For this call, we have not specified the work package. And then we thought it will be better after receiving the proposals to define the work package to see which one is the most relevant for your proposal. So connect more different work packages. Yeah, these are the final steps to be discussed after selection, I would say.
So if you have doubts what does it best fit, then send us an email and we will help you to identify the best fitting work package. Good. Okay, thank you, Francesca. Anything else you would like to better understand?
Please also feel free to ask your questions verbally. Maybe it's easier.
So perhaps from my point of view, also feedback with respect to your proposal, try to be as concrete as possible and really try to explain what you are planning to do, which type of experiments, which measurements, and what comes out of this experiment, for example. Imagine that there are external reviewers and they should understand the quality, the excellence of your work, but also whether it fits into this rather short period of time. So it's extremely important that you are very concrete in terms of what do you want to do, with which methods, and what do you want to achieve at the end.
So we have one more question. I can cover this one. Do we have to propose the HBP partner as collaborator, or this can be assigned at a later stage? So you can collaborate with an HBP partner, but it's not necessary. You can also apply as non-HBP partner alone or with a group of partners. And eventually, of course, there will be a watcher team, a high-level support team helping you to connect with HBP and integrate your project into the HBP. However, this is not necessary at this step. And even if you have an HBP partner or not, the evaluation will be the same for both sort of applications.
And then there was a question, what is the recommended project duration? I mean, you can select also shorter period than 14 months. But my personal recommendation would be to take the 14 months because there might be unforeseen obstacles in your research. And if you have the 14 months, then you have used the full amount of time available for this project. So that would be the recommendation. Can we have more than one partner? Yes, in principle you can, but the sum, that is the 20%, then has to be distributed among the two partners, but you can have more than one, yes.
I would like to also mention that we have on HBP website a part for frequently asked questions about open calls, which covers the main questions that we receive from applicants. So please also visit this link, which is provided in Guide for Applicants, so you can find also the answers of the main questions about the call, including the co-funding, the budget-related questions, what is watcher, what is it assigned for, and then how should this watcher be allocated on the budget table, and then indirect costs about total call budget, and then how your budget table should look like. Also further answers to the questions about eligibility. And I think I also have not mentioned that we have requested 50K co-funding, and please do not mention this in your online budget table. This should be only mentioned in the proposal template in your proposal, which you will see the relevant section when you are going through the instructions. I will quickly answer to this question. Can we receive your presentation? This session is being recorded, so you will receive the recorded session after today's presentation, and then I can read through the following questions. I have 2 partners, but only one is the host organization. Can I allocate funding to only the host organization? So host organization, could you please clarify what do you mean by this? I don't know if Andrea, would you like to cover if it's clear for you, but maybe we can provide better answer.
Yeah, to me, it needs to be clarified what it means host organization. I mean, you could apply with another partner, but if it is not receiving funding, then it would be complicated for the proposal, because at the end, the idea is that all the consortium applying, that could be one or more, each of them receives funding. So at the time of integrating them in the HBP grant agreements, they sign the different documents, which is mainly possible when you have funding.
Okay, then Adalberto is asking, would it be advisable to indicate that the project is in the first phase of a longer project? In principle, yes, you can put it into a context, but please be careful. You should avoid double financiation. So you cannot receive, so to say, twice the funding for one and the same research task. So it can be embedded into a larger project or longer project even, but one has to make sure that, that you're asking for support for a part of this longer project, which has not yet received funding from other third-party funders. That would be important. Data, more detailed information about the available data mentioned on slide 7. I think slide 7 was my slide with a, which was it? Yeah, this is one. If you go to the EBRAINS website and you look to service categories, then at the upper part on the top, you will see data services, data and knowledge. And if you just then click to it, you will find a large menu where you can select the data and see from which species are they coming from, which age, which type of experiment is in the background. So that's on the EBRAINS website. And I see that the link has been pasted into the chat. Refia, 50K confounding is compulsory. It's your question.
So if you do not provide the exact amount, your proposal will not be excluded or rejected. However, we would expect you to provide a justification why it's not 50K.
So for Refia, perhaps we can give an example where this might be the case. So if there, for example, is a theoretical work, yeah, you're developing some kind of model that might be not complemented by compulsory funding, because it's, so to say, not relying on wet lab work or other resources. So that might be an explanation, but please be sure that you address it and explain why. What we would like to achieve is that your hosting institution is also really contributing to this type of activity and supports you so that you are not alone and then have not enough resources to fulfill your work. So that was a little bit the background of this point.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. And how can we estimate the exact amount when considering the facilities and personnel? I'm not sure if this question is for the co-funding or in the budget table while requesting your amount for the facilities and personnel, but in terms of co-funding. So the exact amount may be a bit difficult, but in the proposal template, you can see that what is exactly requested from you. So I would like to also give the word to Andrea. Maybe she can answer this question.
Yeah, in terms of co-funding, it needs to be estimates at the end. I mean, you won't really have reporting requirements if in the case you are selected. So basically, normally the institutions have an estimate of what their own resources are provided. And therefore, your central services may have estimations of the services or the someone in your lab that maybe can be offered as co-funding in time.
Yes, and usually, I mean, the institutions do have, of course, a clear overview how much does how much are the cost of a doctoral student or of a technician, for example. So these numbers can be received from the central. So again, co-founding necessary, but they can be tools or equipments. Well, tools or equipments are not precisely co-founding because they exist already. So you can use them only as co-founding in terms of, so to say, when your institutional budget this does foresee. What is Abschreibung? So there are yearly rates for equipment that could be used, but not, you cannot say, I have a microscope for 2 million euro and this is my co-founding. That would not work because you are not using the microscope completely for this type of research. These are more in-depth questions that are locally a bit different where you are, and that means you have to contact your central administration. And I should add, in many institutions, it is necessary that you contact your central application before you submit such a proposal. So please make sure that you follow the guidelines of your own institution in that respect.
So I have also copied more details about co-funding in the chat box. And when you click on the frequently asked questions link, you can also see on the first paragraph the details about co-funding. So maybe it's a bit clearer. So I would like to also wait a bit more, a couple of more minutes to see if we receive further questions, as we still have time until the end of the session. So if there are no further questions, I would like to also give the word to Catherine to maybe finalize, to give final words about this session and in general, your final suggestions about the potential applicants of this call.
Yeah, so thank you very much for attending the session. And of course, if there is a question coming to into your head after we have finished, we are here to answer these questions. Have a look to the frequently asked question, but if it's more specific, please do not hesitate to contact us. We want to help you to be successful in this application, and we feel really that's important to address the research, the need that we are facing due to Corona, and we are happy that that you have this interest and want to contribute. So every information is on the website. When, so to say, when the deadline will be finished, we will look for the criteria, as Refia said, the eligibility criteria. And then there will be an independent review process by reviewers who are not members of the HBP. So it's really, everything is external. They are rating your calls, and then at the end we will have 2 winners, so to say. And with the winners, we will establish contact as soon as so to say, the decision is clear. And when you are among the 2 winners, of course, we are here also and available to fine-tune your questions and to make sure that really when the project is starting, that you really can start to do your research. So the full support from our teams here in Munich, in Geneva, of course, in Jülich also, and in Oslo. Jan Bjarli was not able to join today because all we have so many meetings in parallel, but he is available for answering questions as well if you have more specific technical questions. And in our view, it's most important that you have a very good understanding when you are writing your proposal, what EBRAINS can bring, what are the consequences, how much time and effort you should estimate. And we are here really and ready to help you in order to make this proposal happen. Yeah, but
Yeah.
That's, from my point of view, everything. I would like to give the last word to Refia.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Catherine, for this presentation and for responding to all those questions. I would like to ask if other panelists have a word to say before we finish the session. No, if not, so I would like to also thank you very much for the attendees of this session. Wishing you a nice day. Thank you.